Welcome, everyone, to this Clubhouse event. Your energy, health, be responsible with empowering solutions, calling for the truth. I would like to start by raising the vibration in the space that we're in now by calling for the highest possible vibration, calling for the truth to come forward into our discussion today so that we may see the truth in all that we see, so that we may hear the truth in all that we hear, and so that we may speak the truth in all that we say. Shall we be in that frequency of truth? Shall that there be nothing but the truth? Shall we call for the power divine feminine to bring balance back into our world, showing us the balance, bringing forth the balance through the way of honor, respect, and gratitude, calling for the highest possible vibration, calling for the highest possible vibration, calling for the highest possible vibration. I now ask for everyone to take a sip of water and ask for the water to hydrate our brain and body. Water is the medium that holds memory and will assist in the flow of the information that we share here together on this clubhouse. Now take a deep breath in, bringing in peace and releasing and exhaling, letting everything else out. Take another deep breath in, bringing in joy and gratitude. And exhale out. And another deep breath in, bringing in life into our bodies. And exhale out, releasing all that does not serve us. And Lakesh and Veritas, everyone, with honor, respect, and gratitude, I call forth the oneness and truth of the information shared with each and every one of us, calling in that frequency of truth and all that is truth with honor, respect, and gratitude to you all. For those who are unfamiliar with the term, the greeting and Lakesh is a Mayan greeting for oneness, signifying unity where everything and everyone is interconnected. It is the idea of community where we can share with one another ideas, goals, and aspirations, and veritas, the Latin word for truth, to see the truth in all things. So therefore, Enlication Veritas is that declaration of oneness and truth in which we are clearing our spaces, the space we're in now, so that we may be able to bring forth a truthful, elevated, and enlightened discussion this evening, clearing away those ill thoughts that we tend to pick up and carry with us from our everyday experiences. Remember, our words have power. So it is important that we use our words carefully, using words of upliftment, encouragement, and enlightenment. And by doing so, as a collective, will help us to transform our spaces and places into higher frequencies that will result in better experiences in our lives and will assist in raising the vibration of those who we meet. So, Enlication Veritas, everyone, with honor, respect, and gratitude. I now like for everyone to again hold your water in your hands and with intention in mind, your power of your intention, send the frequency of Enlikesh to your water. Then take a sip of your water. This will assist in the signaling of incorporating that elevated frequency of Enlikesh into the cellular structures of our body, as we are made with up of 70% water. Using this technique will assist in the ease and flow of the information we share this evening. All right, everyone. So last Thursday, we'll get started. Last Thursday, Enlikesh Studio One, hosted by Diane Annis, had their first virtual book club, and it featured the Call for the Truth publication by LaOta Rassoull, and she was actually the guest speaker for this particular event, which she provided to us a lot of many pearls of wisdom. So this particular Clubhouse, I wanted to spend some time this evening to go over a few of those concepts. So Diane is here, again, who hosted this, and I'm asking her for assistance in sharing some of the information that LaOta shared with us in this particular event. And I also invite others to share your thoughts as we review some of these concepts this evening. So the first thing that I wanted to share is that LaOta explained, what prompted her to write this book, The Call for the Truth. And she shared that she was driven by the fact that many of us have given up our freedoms away. So I found the book to bring light to this particular concept. We've given our freedom to feed ourselves. We rely so much on outside factors, the grocery store to provide our food and our water, for support rather than trying to support ourselves and growing things on our own. That's what most people do. And we've gotten accustomed to that, becoming less sufficient instead of self sufficient and self serving. Another example, which I found that's interesting, is that, we're forced to have insurance. You ever think about insurance? We have to have health insurance just in case we get sick, or we have to have auto insurance just in case we get into an accident, or we have to have life insurance just in case we die. But we aren't going to, you know, to me, it's like calling for it. All right, I want to get sick, so I got insurance to use it, or I want to get into an accident, I got to use my insurance. But it's kind of a catch 22, because when you end up using the insurance, your premiums go up. But that's another story in itself. But we're paying dearly for it instead of focusing on things that are preventative, he- health supporting. Does anyone have any comments regarding that concept? So, LaOta also talked about fear, you know, and how fear keeps us in control, a form of control. And mainstream media, the news, is a major way in which fear is communicated to the masses. And it's a blessing that we have these other outlets, these other social media outlet platforms, so that we can actually speak our truth. Historically, fear was a method to keep slaves in line, regardless of what country, we refer to, regardless of the time period. And if you look at modern times, the pandemic and the mandates is one example of fear and a fear-inducing situation. Has anyone heard about gaslighting and what it is?
In Location Veritas, with honor, respect, and gratitude.
And Lakeshi Veritas, honor, respect, and gratitude, Diane.
Yes, I have heard of that, but I am not. I've seen the word, but I'm not quite sure what that means. Could you explain that, please?
Yes, it's a psychological manipulation,
Oh,
where one person inserts doubt into the other, making them feel unstable. Then it involves like an imbalance of power from like an abuser and the other person that they're gaslighting to control that other person, persuading them to follow a certain way, to think a certain way, or act a certain way.
oh, okay. Thank you.
And sounds like media to mainstream media to me.
Yes, it sure does.
So any comments behind that?
In Lakesh and Veritas, with honor, respect, and gratitude.
And look, Mr. Veritas, care and honest and gratitude.
Yes, I hope everyone is doing well today. I'm out taking a walk while I'm
Oh, nice.
listening in. It's a beautiful day here. So, as you were sharing, what immediately popped up in my mind, the rebel in me, it's all a mind game. This
Yes, it is.
everything, this if we are, one of the great benefits of breath and meditation is the ability to self-reflect, to still our minds and allow the truth to present itself without interference. And that is a very difficult thing to do because we have so much invested in the program.
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm sure everyone on this call knows, we're in the midst of great change. That's all part of the plan. Uh,
Yeah.
what we're experiencing now is part of the evolution, that we have to go through this death in order to have the birth. And
Right.
it's really messy and uncomfortable. And, everything is just as we've agreed to allow it to be. And there's, I'm sure you or many people have read Malcolm Gladwell, The Tipping Point. The Tipping Point really talks about, in its essence, essentially, what is the critical mass? How many people does it take to agree to something in order for it to be true?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fascinating look at, how we live. And, you referenced the pandemic and COVID and fear mongering and, you got to get the vaccine and mandates and all of this. That's all part of it,
Mm-hmm.
and enough people say it's, you know, a, a sound bite is developed to represent the spirit of whatever the decision is. And then you have to decide if you're on board with it or not. And unfortunately, it doesn't leave a lot of space for us. Fear is very contracted energy.
Yes,
And
I
it
agree with
doesn't
that.
leave, and it doesn't leave space for us to allow ourselves to find our own truth. And, the fact of the matter is that we each have our own truth of what's true for us. There are universal truths, but then there's our personal truth. And, I just think about, and I've bitten my lip several times this week as people have presented to me things that are happening in their lives health wise.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I, I, I understand, and I know they've all been, jabbed.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is a great example of, people not being ready to hear the truth. And so I've been able to discern when someone is ready to hear that and when not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just yesterday, I got news of a friend that just passed away, younger than me.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah, in I guess like mid to late 50s. Went
Mm-hmm.
to bed,
Mm-hmm.
never woke up.
Mm-hmm.
These are sobering moments for us, to really think about what is our true meaning and purpose here, because we get so locked into the fear program and we miss the whole point of why we're here, to
Yeah.
learn who we are, learn what we are, invite the truth, experience the truth. And it's very concerning, and it's requiring a very, very strong spiritual seatbelt right now
Mm-hmm.
to, you know, negotiate these changes. And one of the things I've been following this week is the whole thing happening with the currency,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that, what's happening with the US dollar, what does that mean for people, and what's happening around the world with the formation of BRICS, um,
Mm-hmm.
China, Russia, India, all coalescing. We're in the
Yes.
midst of
Yeah.
really great change, and I feel that the U.S. is really due for
A
some,
shake-up. A shake-up.
yeah. What do they call those bomb cyclones?
Yeah. It's a
Like,
shake-up. Yep.
yeah, along those lines. I
Yeah.
think it's going. So I think now, and I believe with every shaking is an opportunity for people to wake up, to be
Oh, absolutely.
shaken awake.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that's what all this is coming down to. And
Yeah.
that's why I look at it, and then I go in and remember my truth and settle myself into that knowledge and that understanding of what is happening and get, knowledge of how to better direct my own energies and thoughts
Hmm.
around what is happening.
Yeah,
So,
I think that, I mean, I believe that we have to look at things in perspective, because we're living in cycles, and it's always an ebb and flow. When we had like the Holocaust and the Nazis, the downfall of Hitler's regime, and then coming back up, we're going into these different cycles. And I think that a lot of that residual enslavement and so forth is persists, and that's what LaOta talks about, and it persists in this time. So I'm actually grateful for this time of what we're calling chaos, to embrace it, because this is the reset that the universe is going to come in and clean it. Period. Do a clean sweep, because these structures, these um the systems that we have in place now are similar to what was happening before, and they're not working. They're broken, but they were brought right back again. When I look at westernized medicine, that was all part of the Nazi regime, with the cutting and the bloodletting, and the experimentation and suffering and pain and all of that. We're living it again. It's modern times now. So at this point, everyone is seeing that it's not, it's broken, and it's now time to just kind of face it, start something new, clear it, clean the slate clean and clear, so that we can do something about it, and start new, and create that world that it was intended to be. It's basically what I'm saying.
yes, I agree. And it really comes down to one's ability to trust the evolutionary trajectory that we're on,
Hmm.
and, be able to gracefully release what has no longer served us.
Right,
But the
right.
fear of the unknown is so, so
I
heavy.
know people are, and the thing is that the unknown, it could be just so great. We're fearing something that we don't even know that could be so
Right,
much better for us.
exactly. And it's like the story of, Plato's story with the shadows on the cave.
Hmm.
Like they were afraid to leave, and they saw these shadows and they didn't know what it was, and they, you know, held themselves captive for, a very long
Hmm.
time until they walked
Hmm.
down. They're like, oh, it's
That's
not
my
so
shadow.
bad. Yeah, exactly. And I guess this is the thing, because the answers, the possibility, the future, the opportunities all reside within us,
Yeah,
each and
that's the
every one
thing.
of us. And it's only when we are ready to go in
No, it might be that person.
and retrieve that truth
That's someone else.
that we can allow it to unfold.
Uh-huh. Hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm embracing this shift and this change, because we got to do something different. Yeah. It's interesting. Another topic that was brought up during the book club was the whole concept of the serpent and Adam and Eve. And I found that to be interesting, because, LaOta brought it, was in, discussed it. And she was like, we have Adam and Eve, and we talk about the serpent, but, Eve was the one who got in trouble, but Adam's the one who ate the apple. How come he didn't get in trouble? Or, they were both naked. Why is Eve getting in trouble for being naked?
Right. Well, that was obviously the patriarchy, you know,
Yes, it was.
right,
It
right,
was.
writing this. And, the rebalancing that we're going through is so messy and
Yeah,
uncomfortable. But it's
yeah.
really on another level, from a spiritual level, fascinating to be witness to this shift that has
Yeah,
never before occurred,
yeah, yeah.
and we're just at the front end of it. you know
Yeah, there's
there's
more to
still so
come.
much. There's so much, and this is why it's so critically important uh, that people allow themselves, and eventually they'll just get tired of trying to hold on, you know, but it's a lot of pain going through that process of holding on. And instead of just trusting, and this comes back to faith, and it's so interesting, I forget what the statistic is, something like 80% of the world believes in a higher power. A vast
Mm.
majority of the people on this planet believe in a higher power, but yet don't trust it.
Yeah, that's because we were trained not to and trust
Exactly.
outside. And even though it doesn't work, it's comfortable. And if it's been rooted and trained and we have to basically release that and work towards doing that. That's why we have these tools to help us to balance our thoughts
Yeah. And
and
it's the
ourselves.
implication,
Hmm.
of if this is true, then that means that is true and all these other things are true. And I'm
Hmm.
opposed to those things. I've never embraced those things. I've always rejected those things. So if this is true, what's being shown to me, then that means everything that I have, believed my whole life, everything that I've lived, everything that I've based my life on, therefore is not true either.
Yep.
And that's a complete affront to the ego. The ego is like, oh, no way, no way, we're not doing that. And I think that's a lot of what we're seeing now is this vicious, you know, push and pull, this tugging for truth.
But it's like
And
that they're living in pain. Oh, well, I guess everybody's used to being in pain, suffering, sacrifice, torture.
yeah, yeah,
That I guess that's why. I mean, it's like, well, if you do something different, you can feel differently and,
yeah.
respond differently.
I
But,
think as the energies on the planet continue to rise in vibration, it will allow people to more easily onboard, if you will.
hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
because I think, I have this, call me crazy, but, I have this vision that, there will be some huge energetic shifts, and they're happening all the time now, but there will come this tipping point where it becomes so glaringly obvious and clear that we will look back to even the day before and go, I can't believe I thought that.
Hmm.
I can't believe I was holding on to that. So I think that moment is coming. And I
Yeah.
was listening to something earlier today, and it was basically saying, you know, if you keep making the same mistakes over and over, or you find yourself stuck, then that's just because you haven't figured out the lesson yet, you
Right.
know? And once
Yeah.
you figure it out, you stop having that particular loop.
Right. Right. You continue to do the same you're going to get the same outcome. You
Right,
want change, you've got to basically change the way you're doing things, you're thinking, behaving.
right. But they don't even know that that's an issue. And frankly, you know,
That's
to
half
be
the battle,
fair,
the understanding. Yeah, that's half the
right,
battle.
right. Or just the awareness. Like for me, and I'm sure for you, many of us on this call, you know, there's an understanding that it's always evolving. There's no, I don't like plant my flag in the ground and go, and here we've made it. We've hit the summit. I think the summit is not a real thing. here on the planet. I think we are constantly in the evolutionary unfoldment. We're constantly in this movement of learning and awareness and growth and learning and awareness and growth. And I know what I know, but I also know there's a whole bunch I don't know.
Okay, right.
There's a whole bunch I don't know. And it's as we evolve, I don't think it's possible to know everything. The only thing we can do is commit to be aware, commit to receive truth, commit to be present to whatever is unfolding without holding on to what I believe today, and to
Mm-hmm.
trust the energies be in alignment, with the energies that are coming.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to this change and this shift. And the only thing to do is, we present solutions on this platform is to just be prepared so that we can then, deal with them, but to embrace it because it's so much better that's going to come from it, and realize that, especially when things are just falling apart and they're just getting worse and worse. Yeah. Diane, did you have any other comments regarding, the discussion from the um, book club?
Well, there were so many things that LaOta brought forward that I thought were fascinating. One thing that she mentioned was about death as a currency. And
Yes,
she said, and Tavares then asked for, a little bit more depth in that too, and that, as we leave this lifetime, that's our currency to go to the next step and the next,
exactly.
and I thought that was a fascinating way to look at it too. I hadn't thought of it in that way either.
Mhm.
But she had talked about death, and she's been talking about that on the social media platforms too recently. She's had a
Right.
couple series of of death and stuff. So I thought that was
Hmm.
interesting too.
Hmm. Because it gives the opportunity for new life to come in,
hmm
you
and
know.
not only our death, but the destruction of the systems that need to go,
Right, right.
so
It
that
doesn't have it's not a health, it's not necessarily our life, I mean our physical death, but
no,
you're right.
yeah,
Structures,
structures
systems.
and how as you were talking and Karen was talking about things changing, we have to be excited about the new way. We, as you said, we're all afraid of the unknown, but the newness of what's coming is going to be greater. And if we all look at it in that way, it will be, because our thoughts make our life. And so
Hmm.
if we think it's going to be wonderful, it will be wonderful.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
So
I agree.
I'm excited too. I know Lau just said we need to be excited about the new wave
What's to
coming,
come?
and it may take a while. It may not happen tomorrow, but time is speeding up.
Right.
She said, "Do you notice it?" I said, "I notice it." But the earth, the rotation is changing. The sun, all the elements are changing. And so that means things have to change.
Right. Right.
So I'm
So
looking
let's just
whatever
embrace
it is.
this change, embrace the change, and be excited about it because it's going to be better,
Yes.
to restore the world.
Yes, it's going to be fun. We're moving, as she said, we're moving out of darkness into the light. So it can only be
Mm.
good, because the light
Yeah,
will all be good.
right. And the light and truth is stronger than anything, stronger
Mm,
than the dark.
yes.
So, okay. Anything else?
Invocation Veritas with
Amicus in Veritas, honest
unexpected
and gratitude.
gratitude. It has it has been so nice to just sit and listen for this call. What Karen and Diane and a lot of you have shared has just been so, it's kind of therapeutic in a way. just thinking about the opportunity for growth and death. I know LaOta has been speaking on death recently, and it's not, honey. Um, it's so symbolic because I remember one of my fears and programming of fears was about death.
Hmm.
And it was like, oh my goodness, what if I, do this, and then it's gonna be this. And then it was just like, no, it's more life. And
Right.
sometimes death is necessary for growth. And one of the things that continuously I'm trying to incorporate in my life and in my little ones is growth. Everything is about growth. Yes, the rocks don't go on the phone, mama. My apologies.
That's okay.
But I think also something that has been so interesting to me is that for the longest, I just always thought about, yeah, I don't want to have to use money all my life. Like it was easier ways, like trading and bartering. Like that just seems so
Hmm.
simple. And this was something I was thinking about like 10 years ago. And now it's like, this is why. So that idea of remembering um, has been
Hmm.
so helpful to release that fear programming, and just excited to really step into what's to come because as everyone has already stated, it's not working what is here in our space already, what is in place. And just thinking about how, going back to the idea of Adam and Eve and the serpent, and one of the things that was taught to me when I was younger was that you have to give birth and you have to be in pain during childbirth. And I really fed into that. And then as I got
Yeah.
older and went through it, that doesn't have to be the truth. Like, yes, there's some discomfort, but that's when we're not in. Oh, you found some sprouts. All right, you can show me
Yeah,
later.
I've learned that even like from you, it's all a mental state. I mean, they make it seem like childbirth was the most excruciating pain ever. But then if, there are things that you can do, you change your mental concept behind it and you don't have that pain that they want you to, that they say that you're going to have. And then who said you got it's so much pain? It's a man that is writing this, right?
Exactly.
And
And
he didn't even have any kids himself.
exactly. And if you think about it, the fact that women have been having multiple children for generations and
I
generations,
know. Yeah.
apparently it wasn't that excruciating that we stopped doing it. And it is like it's a phenomenon that exists that, yeah, we have the pain, we remember the pain, but we don't feel the pain. So it's interesting because it makes me think of compassionate detachment, because it's like, yeah, we know the pain, we've experienced it, but we don't have to stay in it. But yeah, it
Right,
is
right.
mental. It really is all mental. And it's interesting, as I've started to grow my understanding that everything is energetic, everything is spiritual, and that birthing itself in the process is all spiritual, it's all mental, it's all
Yeah.
energetic.
Hmm. Right, right. I agree. I
And
agree.
it's really what we are taught, and that's what goes, the fear goes into it. And thinking about us being clearers and thinking places and what the frequencies are within a place, a hospital is a place for the sick. Giving birth is not a sick ailment, it is something that is joyous, is creation, is life. So giving birth in a hospital is
Yeah.
contradictory to what needs to what
Right.
needs
So
to
it's not a
happen.
disease.
So that in
Yeah.
itself is that it's setting us up to be. Exactly. So we are going into a space with this frequency that's not going to help the process. So that was one thing. And once again,
Yeah. Thank you
your
for sharing
initial
that.
about insurance, the idea of having insurance, and it's fear mongering. Absolutely, it's fear mongering because it might come to us. So we're bringing it to us, and it's a part of the
Yep.
programming. Even
It is a program because man, those premiums, I mean, and how many accidents or any, how often do you use that? The insurance. You're putting so much money into it,
not all.
So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you.
And it's like these are all dependent concepts on the society that has been built,
Yes, it
right?
is.
So the expectation around, childbirth is that it's in pain and it's something that you have to relieve. And so there's drugs and all this other stuff instead of focusing on you know, when we say it's all a mind game and it's
Mm-hmm.
mind control, well, it's not. They've got control of the mind that we gave control up of,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I look at like Wim Hof. I don't know if you're familiar with Wim Hof, who does like these holotropic breathing and creating these altered states that allow him to immerse his body in ice water for extended periods of time, that allows him to sit on ice and not be frostbitten.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
It's about how the power of the mind is so vast, and that is what the war is right now.
Mm-hmm.
A war for our minds, control of our minds, and if we don't take control of our own minds, it will be controlled.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, it's like I have a friend who went on a retreat and walked on top of hot coals. It's the same concept. Your feet and the feet is you're not burning your feet. I mean, you're able to do it. So it's all about the mind and controlling the mind and it's the same concept of healing our bodies. Our mind can actually heal our bodies. If we give it the proper tools, not only the physical tools, but the mental tools and support. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for that concept. Well, I thought this was a pretty enlightened discussion. I want to just share, Diane, when is the next virtual book club being held?
The next one will be on May 4th. It will. I'm hoping to have it on the first Thursday of every month. And the next book will be The Hidden Messages in Water by Masaru Emoto.
Okay. And that was a very good book because water holds memory and information and it can be medicinal. That's what we utilize in order to, when I do my bioenergetics, use water to imprint the information so that the body learns the proper energy flow. So yes, that's going to be a great book to review. Thank you, Diane.
Yes, you're welcome. And also in with it, like with the topic of water, LaOta has been talking about water for 15 times, I think. And
Yes.
so all of her, if any of you have listened to them or attended them, and you can go back and re-listen, or you can get them on the website. Some of them, I think, are under the Chronicles, the Quantum Chronicles section of the Sun. I think a few of the beginning ones are transcribed,
Hmm.
but then the later ones are still the audio version. But
Okay.
that also has so much information, that she's been sharing with us with the water, and especially how things are changing now. So it's important
Uh-huh.
that we embrace that.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I think it's under the media section of our site of thesun.com.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
under media, and I think it's a monthly self-healing class.
Hmm.
And then under also the Quantum Chronicles, there are some
Okay.
of the original ones. Some of the very first ones have been transcribed, so they're
Okay.
out there. I think there's one
Cool.
on water out there, at
Yeah.
least one. So
Yeah. Well, she has these monthly self-healing classes on Sunday, the last Sunday of the month. So I do encourage people to consider looking, signing up and listening and joining. And she reviews it's basically with world issues and events that she goes over it, and it's all relatable to the elements of the earth. So the next class is this at the end of this month on April 30th, and she's going to be it's going to be on Earth, part 16, the hexahedron, on Sunday. So I encourage people to join that. And everyone knows about our divine whole responsibility. that we give the host responsibility sessions, host responsibility meditations on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6 a.m., 12:30 p.m., 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just go onto our websites and request the link, or and get onto our text reel so that we can send you the link. But the same link we use the same link for this particular meditation sessions. It's a great way to shift your frequency and elevate your frequency. And I also want to remind everyone of the Divine Nation workshop using the Call for True Divination cards that Diane also hosts on Fridays, every other Friday. And the next one is April 21st at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Another kind of cool way to look at truth that's in your lives, what is relatable in your lives, within the world, based on the question that you ask. And those that participate, the questions tend to be pretty on point for everybody else.
Yes. And also, one thing that LaOta mentioned when she was at the book club last week is that, the cards, the divination cards, are a part of the book. The book is like part one, and the cards are part two, because they both really go together, and they both are, as you read the book, each time you read it, there's more and more that you gain from it, as well as the cards. Each time
Hmm.
you do a card reading, and even if you pull the same card that you had pulled previously at some point, it means something different each time. So as we're all growing and evolving, the truth, all these truths are coming forward. So
Hmm. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you
thank
for that. Yeah. I use my cards every day. So, and they're very easy to interpret.
Yes,
So,
and that's what she mentioned too about why she created those cards, was because they are easy to use. You don't need to have any special talent or any special training. They are they have a lot of depth to them, because there's the color, there's the number, there's the platonic solid, relates to a chakra, and it has the maxim. And so the words, and she was talking the other night about words, words, be careful with what you say, because words are spells. As we speak, we're saying things, we have to make sure that we're saying the correct things. So
yeah, things that are uplifting and empowering, as we talk about,
right.
words have power. But it's interesting how it's spell, they said spell, and we talk about the spelling bee and, spelling tag. So yes, yes,
Yes, and we're all
I agree.
spelling, but that's spelling, we're putting spells on people when we're talking.
Right, as we're speaking, we're spelling.
Yes.
So, all right, everyone. And let's not forget about the Gloria Gardens, the subscription that Of the Sun has, providing tools and tips on how to harmonize and connect with the consciousness of Mother Earth, and to sustain us, helping us to learn how to sustain ourselves, becoming self-sufficient and sovereign in our lives. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining and participating. And I look forward to seeing you in the next week when we delve into some more enlightening discussions. And remember, our words have power, as we said. Knowledge which is power, and our impeccability on how we use these words are very important as we take action from this knowledge in the direction of truth with honor, respect, and gratitude. And Lakesh and Veritas.
In
And
the
Lakesh
Kesha
and
Veritas,
Veritas with
with
honor,
honor,
Lakesh and
respect, and
respect, and
Veritas
gratitude.
gratitude.
with honor, respect, and gratitude.